Bonjour, everyone. Hi, this is Neshi Lokotz. Welcome to Star Nation's organization's main fan page where I do my live stream show called the Spiritual Roundtable. I'm so glad you're here with me this afternoon on Sunday afternoon or Sunday night or Monday morning, no matter where you are across Grandmother Earth. I'm so glad you're with me. For this particular show, it's a show that we have a spiritual conversation, and it's all based on the intentions for the card draw that I do in the morning to see what kind of energy is flowing for us today and what's most important for us to know about that energy flow, and how it can help us with our soul growth, our spiritual experience here, and really, it really is about helping us to have those aha moments, those insights, correct? Yeah, you know what those feels like. So today is Sunday, right? Sunday, August 25th. Yes, August 25th. Oh my goodness, this month, right? I know that I say that about every month, but man, it feels like I had just blinked and it was July 30th, and now we are near the end of August. Well, how was your weekend? Mine went by really fast. Here we are in the middle of the afternoon, and we fit so much in this last day and a half. My husband, had an open house. His boss did it where he works on Saturday. And so we ended up, we were only going to go there for like a half hour, say hello to some people, because some people I haven't met yet. And Paul has been there about 6 years. And so I was becoming the phantom wife. Be sure you have a wife. People used to say that about Paul in the spiritual circles that I run with. And so anyway, we went and I met a whole bunch of people, nice people, and spent a little time there. Spent more than a half an hour. We were there for maybe an hour and a half. And then, I came home and I was working on the magazine, writing my article, my editorial for the September issue. And so anyway, it's been a busy weekend. This morning, we had a tree trimmer guy come in to trim up some of the larger trees in the backyard because our roof doesn't get enough sunlight, and we were starting to see some evidence of that on the roof. In other words, mold and moss and that kind of stuff growing on the roof, right? So we had lined this up quite a while ago, and the guy finally said, "Yes, I'm coming out," because he was afraid he was going to get stuck in the lawn with his big truck. So anyway, it was amazing. This was a compromise. Paul and I made a compromise. He wanted to take out the big maple tree in the backyard, and I said, no. I think we can do this without taking out the big maple tree in the backyard. And so, yeah, they ended up taking quite a few branches, but the large tree is still there. It just got a haircut, got its bangs cut. And so anyway, we spent a good afternoon, most of the morning doing that. And Paul is just now finishing the cleanup. Yeah, so it's been kind of a busy day. So welcome, everybody. Before we get started with the cards, I am going to take my phone and I am going to send the live stream, our show here, over to my news feed, just to remind my friends that I'm live streaming. And I would invite you to do the same, to share it out, sprinkle it, spread it, the show with others. Now, you can do it to your personal timeline if you want, or if you have a friend or two who you think would really like to enjoy this kind of conversation and the community, just send it over to them, because maybe they've been searching for something, right? And so I'm going to write a post. I'm going to send it over to my news stream, my news feed. And just to remind my friends, I'm live streaming. And then asking them to please join us. There we go. And Okay. I think Stephanie's going to be here with us this afternoon. We'll wait and see. Otherwise, I'll send it over to the closed group too. Let's see who's in the chat. I know it's Sunday afternoon. Some people are watching baseball, like my mom, watching the Brewers. Some people might be watching the preseason football stuff. Others may be doing those late summer vacations, right? Maybe just coming back with them from the weekend. But let's see who's here. Julie's here. Hi, Julie. Good to have you here. So good to have you here. I appreciate you being here. One of the things that I know to be true on a Sunday afternoon, I used to like to take naps on Sunday afternoons. Did you ever do that? You just kind of, there's everybody else in the house is doing, in my house, my mom watches baseball. My husband watches football or soccer. And so lots of times they'll have that stuff on and I'm in a different room, working on a magazine, working on Star Nation something, or like in the old days, I would be taking a nap because I'll watch a few games, but it's not really my thing. And so I know what it feels like to have an afternoon nap. And sometimes we have to do that for ourselves, don't we? Okay, so we're still using this particular deck of cards. It's the White Eagle Medicine Wheel deck by Yvette Neshi. And this is a medicine man, holy man, that is from the Lakota and the Ojibwa people. And so we have, from his perspective, the medicine wheel. And it has given us some very interesting conversations here. And so I would like to start sharing the card information and see what Spirit has for us today. All right. Got to click the right button. There we go. All right. So the very, very, very first card. Now we've had this particular power animal in another deck, but not this one. Coyote. Coyote. And in the background is a shield draped by a blanket, it looks like, with feathers hanging off the blanket. It looks like claws up there too. A wolf claw. Coyote. And of course the bead medallion showing a coyote with a full moon behind him or her. Coyote. Coyote or coyote. Whichever you prefer. This particular power animal has quite the reputation, right? Got quite the stereotype and reputation. Coyote. Coyote is known to be a trickster. He is known, or she is known, to be a very blunt and direct message giver. So once you catch on to the trick, once you catch on to, oh, I see what you're doing. You're doing the opposite, right? That the message comes through, and many, many times his message or her message is very direct and very blunt, to the point where it's kind of like, ow. you could have put it a little nicer, but it's in that bluntness that we receive the message that we're meant to receive, right? It's not made pretty, right? It's not taking the long way home to explain something. It's blunt and to the point. Yeah, coyote medicine. It's not a very easy medicine to carry. If you have coyote as a power animal or as a birth totem, it's a challenging medicine to walk with. because the coyote is your mirror. So showing you everything in the reflection that you might be hiding, running away from, you know. Coyote medicine really, really wants to take you to task if you're too serious about life. You know that Coyote medicine believes that we should be laughing, have humor in our life, right? And so when we're too serious or we're too full of ourselves, right? The ego is out of balance, kind of thing. Coyote will come in and help you balance that. And I smile because those who carry coyote medicine, you know exactly what I talk about. I don't personally carry coyote medicine, but I know many, many people who do. You know, and sometimes people identify. Sometimes they get coyote mixed up with wolf. When you see a coyote, you think, oh, I think I just saw a wolf, right? And generally speaking, if you saw the two together, coyote is leaner. That's a good word. Leaner. Smaller boned, sort of, than a wolf. Okay. And their nose is a little bit more pointy, and they're shorter in stature compared to a wolf. Not to say that coyotes are small. No, they're probably the good size of maybe a German Shepherd. If you know your breeds of dog, they're about the size of a German Shepherd, maybe even a little bit taller. Yeah. And coyote is very used to living near people, believe it or not. A lot of urban people get to see coyote, especially in the Southwest, or in the West, I should say, in the West, because they help. Honestly, they do help keep down the rodent population. Yeah. I'm trying to think of the name of the. I'm trying to think of the name of the little rodent. It has a dog. Goodness. Prairie dog. Prairie dogs. Prairie dogs are very prolific. They create and procreate just like rabbits do. Lots. And so in more urban settings, sometimes you'll see the coyote coming into those neighborhoods as they're hunting. And so they're hunting the prairie dog, but that also means that they're also hunting your pets, our cats and our dogs and that sort of thing. And so they're very much used to us two-leggeds, especially near urban areas. Here where I live kind of on the outskirts of Toma, which is a rather small town. I'm not quite in the country. I'm not quite in town. And so every once in a while we can hear the coyotes howling at night, yipping, right? But I've never seen one in my yard. That doesn't mean that they're not there. I just don't see them. But we also have wolf here. And that's why I know the difference between the two is that the wolf is much bigger, much, much bigger. They're bigger boned. Their stature is large, right? And their paw prints, their paws are probably twice the size of a coyote's. Their nose isn't quite as sharp, pointed. Yeah, and wolves really look like large dogs. They do. And they don't bark much, but when they do, it's more of a howl than a bark. Yeah. And so the difference between the coyote and the wolf. Now, the coyote, the words associated with coyote with this particular author is deceit, humor, and survival. Deceit, humor, and survival. He says that that it's considered not easy to carry the coyote medicine. Yeah. Yep. Hi, Edward. Good to have you here. Oh, no, you're not late. It's good. It's good. I'm glad you're here. And so coyote, this is what the author has to say about coyote. It says, find your humor if you have lost it. Laugh at yourself. You have probably called many powerful lessons to yourself recently. Let's see. It says, have you been playing around or meddling with things that are better left undisturbed? If others have been playing tricks on you, use coyote's cleverness and humor to turn the tables on them. Remember that the coyote always arrives to stop you from getting too serious. Coyote is your mirror to show you the lessons you need to learn in order to stay on the sacred path. It helps you to keep your spontaneity and childlike curiosity about the world. Use its keen nose to sniff out any deception or double dealing that could land you in trouble. This will probably come from behind. Coyote will teach us whether we want to learn or not. So call on this powerful ally when life becomes difficult. Don't take life or yourself so seriously and cheer up. And when I think of coyote medicine, sometimes there's such a contradiction. There's a contradiction because coyote wants us to not take ourselves so seriously, right? And to have a sense of humor. And yet that medicine is there to help us stay on our path, right? They're that mirror for us. And so that we get to see the reflections that we try to ignore, try to hide from. But he also is a trickster. And so you don't know if what is being shown to you is the truth. Okay? You have to be able to learn to discern. Is Coyote doing a trick, or is he really showing you, or she showing you what's really there, right? And so you have to really take it into consideration, what is being shown to you. Mm-hmm. Hello, Citrine. Good to have you here. Do I live in California? No, I don't. I live in Wisconsin. Do you know where that is? It's in the upper Midwest. Yeah. Well, you're welcome. You're very, very welcome, Citrine. It's my pleasure. So, coyote medicine. Now, for those of you who have been with the show and with Star Nations for some time, right, you know that Stephanie, who is our social media manager, many times she is in the chats, and she carries coyote medicine. And so she knows firsthand what that's like. And speaking of which, I don't think she's in the house. So I'm going to pause just for a second because I need to share the show over to one of our closed groups, just so that peeps remember, we'll remind them that I'm live streaming. And asking them to please join us. And there. Here we go. So carrying coyote medicine can be kind of a challenge because you have to really be able to discern what is being shown to you as the opposite a trick, and what is being shown to you very bluntly, okay, delivered very bluntly. And so it really puts you in a position to really tap into your intuition and check in with your higher self, with your soul self, and say, okay, what's really going on here? Because this isn't making sense. And show me what the truth is, the divine truth is, right? And so that way, Coyote is actually giving you the opportunity. One is to connect to your higher self. Two, to use your intuition for clarification, and also to show you in a way that you can say, "Oh my goodness, I could," and then laugh about it, right? And then laugh about it. For instance, here's one. There was a time when Stephanie was she was doing some research, and I want to say it was about the goddesses, and I can't remember of what genre, but so she ended up doing a whole lot of research, and she knows a whole lot about goddess work. And what it was is that Coyote had brought in some information for her, showed her something, and she thought that she had to study the goddesses. Well, she did, but she only really needed to know one. And so it was she went through all of that, and we were talking about it, and I said, and so the one goddess, and I don't remember which one it was, but she says, oh my gosh, she says, I spent months reading about goddesses and their work. And I said, well, you know a lot about them now, but you really, really needed to only know the one. And she sat and laughed, because what else can you do? But that is just an example of what Coyote medicine is like. Oh, so Edward and Citrine know each other. Well, nice. Very good. She says, I'm watching because I received a notification that you are watching. Ah, isn't that good? Thank you, guys. That's fantastic. Hey, Jocelyn. Jocelyn just joined us, too. Good to have you here, Jocelyn. I'll show you, Jocelyn. I don't know if you saw the card. This is the first one, the first card for today. We have 3. Coyote. And honestly, we're going to go through the other 2 to really get a good handle on what Spirit is bringing to us today. But honestly, with Coyote medicine, when I was reading over it and having my celery juice as I contemplated Coyote medicine for today, what jumped out at me is that you have probably called many powerful lessons to yourself recently. And that Coyote is our mirror to show us the lessons you need to learn in order to stay on the sacred path. Yeah. So for us to call on this powerful ally when our life becomes difficult, and not to take ourselves too seriously. Right? Because you know what happens when we take ourselves seriously? We get all in our head, don't we? In our mental mind. And we start to ruminate about certain aspects or scenarios, right? And so we end up in our mind much more than we are in our hearts. And so in order to have that balance, because we need both, right? We need both, but to have it in a balance so that when we start making our decisions and doing manifestation or creation, we're coming from our high heart, right? And not so much from our mind. Our mind's very powerful, just as much as powerful as our hearts are. And so, but when we create from our mind, we're creating in a vibration of duality, okay? When we're creating only with our mind. But when we create with our hearts, it's from a unified field. And so we don't get the blind side, right? When we create with our minds, we get blindsided. It comes up from behind us and we don't see it coming. And so those are what we call accidents, right? And coyote medicine sometimes is like that. It comes up from behind us and we don't see it coming, right? And then so, that's why it's imperative. It's really important to be able to discern coyote medicine. He's coming for a reason, or she. We always call coyote he. Why is that? Something to think about. Citrine says, I received the coyote message for today. It's so anachronistic because I received the trickster card for my weekly card. Really? Oh my goodness. All right. So thank you for sharing that. And so for me, with coyote medicine is to try to look at it from a broader point of view, right? Not so narrow. Because when we think of something or consider something from one perspective, a narrow perspective, much of that time we're in our mind and only using that aspect of ourselves. But when we look at the larger picture, right, we bring in and use more of our senses, and so that we're able to bring in the information more in a holistic way, more of the information that's being brought to us. And so coyote really can show us that, right? And almost in the opposite though. Yeah. So when you're working with coyote medicine, sometimes it's better to try to get a larger perspective or more than one perspective to see what's really going on. And tapping into our higher self, our soul self, to help us to discern, right? To tell us, because when we discern, that's the aspect of us that is reaching for the solution or the answer, right? Is helping us. Our soul is the one that's doing the discerning, and it's coming into our conscious mind, our conscious self, to make the decision, right? And so coyote is definitely is a helper, but it really takes some dexterity, let's call it that, to deal with coyote medicine. Yeah. Oh, synchronistic. Okay. All right. Thank you. That makes much more sense. Thank you, Citrine. Yeah. All right. So let's see the other cards that are supporting coyote. The message. Here's the second card. Whale. Whale medicine. So it's interesting, those people who carry whale as their power animal or their totem. Because, whale is an ancient being, right? And they carry the history of the oceans, of Grandmother Earth and the oceans, right? So they watch. They've been the record keeper for the oceans. Much like the sequoia, the trees, are record keepers for the vegetation here on Earth. And the elephants, right, are also record keepers. And also the stone people are record keepers. And so we have many of our relatives who hold a lot of energy and a lot of information for us all, not just us two-leggeds, but everyone. Right? And so in the background, we have seashells, and we also have a carving on a whalebone of the four directions, the medicine whale. Looks like they're in a bed of sand. And the whale image done in beadwork as a medallion. Looks like they're breaching the water, jumping out of the water. Now, have you guys ever seen a whale breach water? We have the opportunity, right, with video, which is really, really cool. But to see it in person, right? To see it in person is something else. Now, I've only seen it once, and I was in California at the time. And I wish I could remember the name of the town. It wasn't Mendocino. Could have been. I can't remember. I was at a class, and the middle weekend, we went into a town along the ocean to do some shopping, and to get coffee, that kind of thing. And there was whales along, just outside of town there, and you could see them at a distance, how they breached. And to be able to see them from that distance, that they're huge, huge animals, huge bodies. And so, but to have that experience, right? You never forget it, that's for sure. And so the words that are associated with whale is gentleness, intelligence, intuitive knowledge. That's gentleness, intelligence, and intuitive knowledge. It says whale reminds us of the ebb and flow of life and the movement of time. As whale sails towards you, ask it to connect you with your soul history, your own book of life. Ancient knowledge is held within your cellular memory. It is time to learn who you really are and what path of service you chose many eons ago. Allow whale song to link you with all other life forms. Learn to listen with your heart and mind and inner ear to the subtle messages whale is providing you. Remember, whale medicine can tap into the universal energy of the Creator and teach us to use sound and vibrational frequencies to balance our spirit, mind, body, and emotions. Listen to your voice and how you use it. Singing and chanting can be powerful healers. Peace and emotional healing are whale's gift to you. Right? There's a lot in those two paragraphs. There's a lot. One of the things that jumped out at me early on was that whale reminds us to be in the ebb and flow of life, and that it reminds us of the movement of time, earth time, right? And that it's time to learn who we really are and what path of service that we chose for this lifetime, what our soul chose. And, our soul is here to gain wisdom, right? And with our original vibration, we're meant to experience certain things and to gain that wisdom, to add to the previous wisdom so that we have depth, right? And breadth of our vibrational notes. Does that make sense? Our vibrational notes. That was just given to me. It's like, oh, that makes sense. And it's no wonder why we have to do so much of our inner healing so that we can clear the debris, right, from the use of our gifts so that we have more access to them and access to our intuition and how we bring spiritual information in. So he goes on to say that you can't feel lonely if you maintain a link to all of creation. You will feel love and support that connect you to all your relations. Whale tells you to awaken your sensitivity and gentle awareness. Whale also teaches creativity, but this needs to be expressed rather than kept inside just as an idea or dream. So it's action. right? And, you know, that one message that really means a lot to me, right, is that we are never alone, ever. Whenever you feel lonely, you have to double check to see when was the last time you grounded to Grandmother Earth. When was the last time that you went out and walked out in the woods or outside, right? Because we're never alone, ever. We have our spiritual team that's with us all the time. That includes our guardian angel, right? Includes the Creator, includes Grandmother Earth. And so if you ever feel lonely, then you have to ask yourself, when was the last time you connected to Grandmother Earth and all of our relation there? When was the last time you went out and picked up some garbage just to clean up Grandmother Earth, to do a little something for her, right? Yeah. All right. So I'm going to catch up with you guys in the chat. Hang on just a second. Citrine says that Santa Barbara. No, this was in Northern California. That's why I was saying maybe it was Mendocino. It feels right, Mendocino. Jocelyn says, yes, I've seen them in Virginia Islands and a beautiful, majestic creature. Yeah. And once you've seen one, you don't forget it, right? Yep. And at SeaWorld. That's true. That's true. Yep. And at SeaWorld. Edward saying we can only hear putter the frequency of the entire whale call too. That's right. That's right. And when you have cleared and healed your emotional and mental trauma, and that you've cleared that debris, you get closer and closer to your original vibration that you came in with. And so that you have more access to your intuition. And so it depends on how you bring in spiritual information, whether it's your clairaudient or clairvoyant or clairsentient, is that we actually bring in more information when we're closer to our vibration, our original vibration. And so there's parts of us that can actually sense the frequency that the whale uses. Yeah. In fact, there's two women that I know that work on behalf of the whales. One is Jan Beaver. She is an Indigenous woman out of Canada who goes to work, volunteers down in Hawaii, where she winters. And she does a lot of work with whale song and protecting the whales. Madonna DePaulo, who is one of our authors here at Star Nations, we just published her book this past April, I think it was. And she wrote a book called The Sound Weavers, about the cetaceans. And the whales are one of the cetaceans, right? And so she talks about how they're here to help weave the peace and harmony back into our existence. It's a fabulous children's book. If you haven't read it, lulu.com, Madonna de Paulo, The Sound Weavers. Good book. Of course, I am partial. Hey, Rochelle is here. Hello, Rochelle. I'm so glad you're here. I thought you weren't going to join us. I'm glad you're here, though. Hope you had a good time. Whale is one of my spirit animals. Oh, good. We were just talking about that. I hope you had a good afternoon with your family. Rochelle had written a reply saying that she wasn't going to be with us today for the show because she had time with her family this afternoon. So I hope you had a good time. All right. So with whale, one of the things that jumped out at me with this one was that whale asks us to connect with our soul history, our own book of life, that ancient knowledge is held within our cellular memory, that it's time to learn who we really are and what path of service that we chose for this lifetime. That's what jumped out at me for this information today, right? And so when we pair that with the first card, which is Coyote, what we have here is we've got the coyote medicine that tells us, reflects something back to us like our mirror, right? And that we have to use our intuition and connecting to our higher self, our soul self, to really discern what is this message Coyote is bringing, because he's a trickster. And so we need to be able to see really what is that message that he's bringing to us, right? And it's been my experience that when we look at what he's bringing to us in a much more expanded or to see the bigger picture than a narrow perspective, that we end up taking in the information much differently, more holistically, right? And so Coyote teaches us to discern and also to lighten up, because he uses a lot of humor. And the more serious you are, the more in your head you are, the more egotistical you are, Coyote is going to take you to task and make an example out of you until you laugh at yourself. He'll make you mad about it, especially if your ego is out of balance. He'll make you angry because he's going to be poking at your ego. And so until you actually start lightening up and not taking it so seriously, right? All right. So here comes Whale. So how could Whale be helping Coyote, right? And so I think that it has a lot to do with us taking a wider look at our wider perspective of our soul, our soul's history, our soul song. That we hold this ancient information, we all do, in our cellular memory. It comes from our ancestors, right? Yeah, but we have one more. We have one more to take into consideration. And that's something called provider. It comes from grandfather provider. And the information comes from the Ute Nation here in the United States, the Turtle Island, North America. Provider. The gift that comes to us from the provider is Sweetgrass. And let me tell you, Sweetgrass has a great name to describe what it does. Because when we burn Sweetgrass, the scent is so calming and peaceful, and it's about joy. It's about joy, right? How many people like the smell of sweetgrass when it's burning? Have you ever smelled sweetgrass? That's a good question too. All right, Rochelle says, Citrine. Citrine says, what program are you using? I love how we can see the comments in your name badge. Okay, I love this. Thank you, Citrine. We are partners with BeLive TV, BeLive.tv, okay? And I found them back in I think it was early 2017, March of 2017, because I noticed somebody who was doing she was doing a makeup kind of thing and had to split screen. She had somebody else on an interview, right? And I thought, holy cow, what is that? Because I'd been looking for something, right, to do this. And so BeLive TV is one of our partners, and they have those cool things like you just saw my name up there, and we can show the message coming in. I can have up to 3 other people on screen with me, like a panel. We can show pictures. let's see, let me think here. Here, we'll show this one. We can do that. Whoops, we can do this. And I can bring up a picture with me. I can bring up a picture with me. Well, that's because I'm on solo. I'll take that off. There we go. So we can do stuff like this, Citrine. This is the cover of our August issue of Star Nations magazine. And so, yeah, so through Be Live TV, we can do some pretty neat stuff. Right? Yeah. Thank you for asking. It's Be Live TV. Yeah, and so it's nice that we have 10 we have 13 live stream shows on Star Nations live stream shows with 10 hosts, and all 10 hosts use Be Live TV for their shows, and so it's very nice. We like it a lot. I really do. And Rochelle says she got back early. I'm so glad you did. Jocelyn says, yeah, she is. She has smelled sweetgrass burning. So do I, Julie. It's really nice. Citrine says, I love the smell of sweetgrass. There's something about it. There's something about it when you harvest it, when you go out to cut it, right? And you can smell it, right? Because it's fresh. And then you braid it. It's considered Grandmother Earth's hair. Okay, that's why it's braided. And then you braid it, and then you dry it. And then once it's dried, then you can burn it. And when you burn it, you release the oils in it, right? And it smells so good. It really does. Yeah. Oh, I think she meant she likes Be Live TV. I'm not sure. And so, as you can see in the picture, the sweetgrass is dried. And sweetgrass is also a protector as well, because it's Grandmother Earth's hair, right? It's also a protector. Here's what the author says about the provider, okay? The provider. Says the teachings I have for you is to have gratitude and respect for all life and all that you are given. Take nothing for granted and take only what you need. The provider must determine the need, spiritual, mental, emotional, or physical. Nurture love, happiness, and security, such as are the needs of all. It is a healing medicine, and it provides, the sweetgrass is a healing medicine and provides nests for small creatures and food for animals. Its sweet fragrance fills the air, bringing you a time of gentleness, like sitting in a meadow at peace with nature and the world. Life is a precious gift. Too often we ignore this gift by frittering it away on pointless activities. Life is short, but it can be sweet if we walk a path of beauty, harmony, and gratitude. Beauty, harmony, and gratitude. And gentleness, right? And so the provider, in an indigenous sense, in the ancient relatives, the provider, and we can kind of think about it in modern terms too, the provider, they took care of everybody in the clan, right? They made sure the clan was safe, protected. They made sure the clan had food, right? And that their health was seen to, right? Made sure that they had drinking water, that they had a warm place to sleep or a dry place to sleep. The elders were taken care of as well as the young, right? The provider, they say, was the last one to always eat because they wanted to make sure everybody had what they needed. But the provider was also taken care of, right? When they would move from their nomadic, when they're following the food source, whether they're a buffalo, deer, or whatever, right? They're following the food source. And so when they would change their campsite, the provider never had to put up their own tent, teepee, or wigwam. They didn't have to do that. The people took care of the provider. They made sure that the shelter was put up. They made sure that his usually his or her bedroll was put out. They had the fires set up for them in their own campsite, right? So that when the provider was done at the end of the day, in the evening, getting ready to go to bed, that everything was already taken care of. All they had to do was rest. So they took care, the people took care of the provider as well. So it was a balance of giving and receiving, right? In modern day, we still have providers. We still have providers. We still have those family members who take care of everybody in the family, right? Making sure they have a roof over their head, making sure they have food on the table, that they have their medical needs are met. You know, we already have providers, but sometimes it's out of balance. The provider is not taken care of. The provider still has to make their own meals, or, you know, sleep on the couch, or, you know, their bed isn't made, or, you know, the laundry's not done, those kinds of things, right? So the giving and receiving is kind of out of balance with it in modern day. Not always, I'm just generalizing. So when we take a look at the provider, and what the provider does is that when your needs are met, you have time to enjoy life. You have time to notice what brings you joy, right? What brings you joy. And so when we're looking at the information for today, you know, and it was led by Coyote. So even with that, because Coyote came to us first, we have to talk about that just a little bit, okay? So I just want to catch up with everybody. Edward says, but Neshi is my favorite show. Oh, you're so sweet, Edward. Thank you. And Grandmother Earth's here. Yeah. Sweetgrass. That is so funny. Thank you, Edward. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you all three cards put together. Okay. And one of the things that we found out early on when we first started this show is that it's very, very helpful for us to call to our spiritual team, our entire team, to come to us, to be close, because they're always with us, right? We're just asking them to come close and to help us to take in the information or the essence of the cards that's meant for us, right? And then take a big deep breath in. And then when you see the cards, you're asking your team to help you do this, right? To take in the information in an optimal amount, in an optimal way for you. So you're looking at the seen and unseen, right? Okay, so here we go. We're going to show the three cards. Okay, here are the three cards. Try to get my fingers out of the way here. I don't want to cover up Coyote. All right, so we have the three cards here. And Coyote led the card draw, the information, right? And was explained that he is a trickster, and that he brings humor. He's our mirror. He helps us to look at challenging things with a sense of humor. But he also is a contradictory, because sometimes he shows you one thing, but he means something completely different. And so the fact that he even came in first, right, is for us to take the information, but not be really so serious about it. Look at it from a more expanded, bigger picture rather than a narrow picture. Right? And the whale's coming in to support the information that Coyote has brought to us. And the whale talks about he's a history keeper, and he's asking us to take a look at our own soul history. The wisdom that we've already gained, how we use our wisdom, how we use our gifts, how every time we heal our emotional or mental traumas is that we clear the way to tap into even more information and to be closer to our original vibration, our soul song. And they were talking about the whale song, right? Our soul song. And with the provider is saying that there's a sweetness to life. That when everything is taken care of, when we have our needs met, our basic needs met, we can have the time to enjoy life and find the joy and the sweetness of life. Is to take a look at it from a larger point of view. That it's more than just about us individually. It's about us collectively together. That even when we do our own healing work, we are healing our own traumas. It affects the whole. You know, and the whale energy brings in ancestor energy, as well as the provider, because the provider energy comes from the knowledge of an elder. And to also use your sense of humor. Be willing to laugh at yourself. And not to take it so seriously. Right? Wow. In other words, lighten up. Yeah. It's good. It's a good one. We're at the top of the hour already. Goes by fast. Goes by really fast. So, yeah, I think Spirit is really wanting us to find the joy in life. Right? As we do our own spiritual work, knowing that we affect the whole, all of our relations, all of us, is not to take it so seriously. Because when we're so serious about something like that, we're also out of balance. We're more in our mental mind than we are in our heart space when we take it so seriously. And so we're striving still for that balance, right? So that we're living our lives out of a high heart right here, right? And that we have an opportunity that's before us all the time to be able to use our gifts and our intuition. Yeah, to stay on our path that we chose, as they said, eons ago, a long time ago. So with that, anything that resonated with you today about our conversation and the information brought by Spirit, my suggestion is to embrace it and watch, see, sense, feel how today's energy is unfolding for you and where this information could be helpful, right? And if it didn't resonate, don't worry about it. It's okay. because there's always tomorrow's cards that might be meant for you. Okay. And I always say that maybe you're the messenger. Maybe that you know someone who has been looking for this kind of information, or possibly this kind of conversation or community. And all you have to do is share the link to the recorded show with them, and then you're done. It's like, done. Right? Yeah. So we have lots going on this week for you guys. I'm going to get my notes up here so I don't forget anybody. To kick off the week, starting on Tuesday, of course, you know, this show is Sunday through Thursday, but Polly Joe is on Tuesday at noon Eastern time with chakra sessions, and she's going to be sharing the circuitry of the energy system with us on Tuesday. She says, she's asking the question, have you ever thought about blueprints for our energy body? I have. And we have each built into our field in ways that our energy system is meant to flow. With expanding our sense of self, we can connect to these aspects, especially the way energy flows through our circuitry, through our chakras, right? And so she's going to help us understand that. And that's at noon on Tuesday, August 27th. And then that evening, Tuesday evening, my weekly evening show, Communications from Home, I'm interviewing Mary DeLotte. And Mary is a guardian, a caretaker of a crystal skull called Omani. Okay, and she's going to be talking about our crystal skull connection, what they bring to us, and what has it got to do with peace. She is the coordinator of an upcoming conference called the Crystal Skull Unification Conference in September. And so she's going to share a little bit about that as well. So if you want to know about what it's like to be a guardian of a crystal skull and what it's like to be in the presence of so many crystal skulls at one time, Mary has that experience that she's going to share with us. So join me on Tuesday night for Communications from Home at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And then on Thursday, August 29th, Living in Two Worlds with Orchun and Carl Franklin, and I get to produce their show, so I sit in on it. It's called Beyond the Beyond, Shifting Consciousness. They're going to be sharing about our level of understanding that creates greater love, peace, and joy. And so that's going to be another good show. And you know what? Carl and Orchun are some of our elders here at Star Nations, and they always have these nuggets of wisdom that you'll want to write down or to watch again, something, because they always have something special added in there. So I'm going to just check chat real quick here. Rochelle says, bye-bye. Bye, Rochelle. And Citrine, thank you for bringing this message today. I'm going to show that. You're welcome, Citrine. Thank you for being here, joining us today. And Edward is saying, much love to all. Thank you for sharing. Same to you, Edward. And Jocelyn says, 3 great cards. Thank you. You're welcome, Jocelyn. And Edward is also saying, much love to all. All right. Thank you, everybody. And thank you for being with me this afternoon for this live stream. Spiritual Roundtable. We'll be back tomorrow, Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and we'll see what the cards bring us tomorrow, right? Right. So enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Bama Mina, that means until we see each other again. Love you.